Welcome back to Normal and Pablo Opinions. This is a bit of a different video because the whole goal of this is that I flip through some beautiful books, beautiful illustrations. I just want to show off the pretty stuff that I have visually. Now, I won't be flipping through manga, but there is one exception that I want to show off, and you will see why in a little bit. Most of these are either graphic novels or very pretty illustrated editions of novels. I don't know what the point of this video is other than appreciating the aesthetic beauty of something for once, because I do not have many special editions, but I do appreciate when there was a lot of care and thought put into a piece of work, and when the art is very carefully crafted and matched to the story. It is just my favorite thing ever, so I thought that in honor of me getting Revenge of the Sith next month, which is the only actual special edition I'll ever have, I'd show this off a little bit. Plus, we all like looking at pretty things, and there's nothing wrong with that, obviously, only if it's in moderation and if you're actually splurging on things that you love, not just things that you're going to put on a shelf and never look at again. So without further ado, let's get into the first thing we're going to be showing off. I wanted to get our one manga out of the way, and obviously it's Witch Hat Atelier. The reason that I wanted to show this off is that I think it's a work of art. I just think it's a work of art. The only reason is I didn't know anything about it, but I picked it up in the first place, even though, again, I don't really read manga unless I've seen the anime. It's just my habit. Like, I don't invest my time in a manga. So let's look into the masterpiece. And obviously she draws a lot of inspiration from, like, specifically European art. She said Möbius before, and I think she quoted like another one. Her architecture specifically looks very European, and I mean, it is inspired by France, obviously. But there's just something about her line art and her attention to detail that strikes me as extra special. I'm sure there are other mangas that do this, but I just want to show this off very briefly as a compliment to her skill and just her ability. Maybe if you weren't convinced to read it before, you will be now. I'm trying to find like one of those double page spreads here. See, like the detail. This is just a small flashback, but the detail that she puts into this is insane. Also, you don't really have to worry spoilers because like this is the first chapter of the story, so see, like the detailed line art, everything is so nice. And obviously this is what I was actually aiming for. Look at how pretty it is. The mountains, everything is so intricately drawn. It's just beautiful. It's just stunning. She is truly an artist, not just a mangaka, but like properly an artist. And if anything were to convince you to read this, I want it to be the art, because that's what convinced me. And then let the story capture you. I could have shown you very easily the art book of this, but didn't want to do any spoilers or anything. So volume 1 it is. I just get so happy anytime I get the chance to talk about this. The next 2 things that I want to talk about are actually not in English, which is why I'm going to like group them together, but I do have the rare occasion to praise something that came out of the country that I live in. So this is The Hobbit in Croatian translation, or is it Croatian, or like just in general Slavic? I think it is. 1995, yeah, okay, so it is a Croatian translation, but I loved this book as a child, like, so much. This is actually the only Tolkien that I read for the longest time, because even though I've been, like, entrenched in the universe since I was very young, I never could actually read Lord of the Rings in its entirety until, like, the first year of university, I think, which is embarrassing. However, I just couldn't read it when I was younger. I don't know why. I mean, I read The Wheel of Time in high school, but I couldn't read The Lord of the Rings until I was 20. Doesn't matter. I read The Hobbit many times, though. It is the one book that, like, I gave my friend who doesn't read, and she read it. I think it's, like, the only book that she's ever voluntarily read. And it's just so pretty. This is like a very famous artist here, and he has such specific illustrations that these books that are out of print with his illustrations are actually very well, not very well, but rather very pricey if you don't have them anymore. This is like the full illustration. And I wanted to show you the inside because for some reason, and you already saw it, the English versions don't often have Tolkien's illustrations that he did himself, but this one definitely does. So I just wanted to show that off because it's always been such a pretty edition to me. And then it pulls out like this map. This is what I mean. This feels like a special edition where I live, you know, like a pull-out map with illustrations. This is special. So if you've never seen these in like English hobbits, although I'm sure there's a version with them, I tried to find an English hobbit with Tolkien's illustrations. It was surprisingly difficult, but I do have them, so I don't really necessarily need the English illustration. So if you've never seen them, here's your opportunity. Like, they're 2-page spreads, too. See, like, there's a map, there's... And don't ask me what, like, the technique for any of this is, because I do not know anything about art. Here we have... What is it called? Like, the Eagle Eyrie, I think, is the name of it. The Misty Mountains. It's just stunning. A stunning edition that I read so many times with a decent, thick, large font. That's one thing that has to be praised where I live, and that's that the font and like typeface is always really, really readable. Like, it doesn't have that small font horror that is like just a colored version of the black and white Eagle Eyrie that you saw before. Like, it doesn't have the small penguin atrocity, and it has like these little dragon details. I just love this edition. I have so much nostalgia for this specific edition, even though I haven't read it in translation in like a really long time, but I did several times when I was a kid, and I loved it so much. This looks stunning, by the way. Tolkien was also a decent artist, which like surprises no one. He was also a decent artist alongside being a fantastic writer and poet. We're also getting some coincidental, like, page flipping ASMR while I do this. So, as someone who is actually, like, the biggest fan of book ASMR, that's kind of fitting. Here we are. When they're going in the barrels, here we have Lake Town. This is also, I think, like, the best translator we've ever had in this like area of the world into Slavic languages. He knew like so many languages. He translated from like, I think, Russian, German, so many languages, and he is by far the best. Like, his translations are not only accurate, which is what you want, but really creative and really fun to read. So when I can get one of his translations, I always do. Like, for example, all of my Nikolai Gogol reads are specifically his translation from the 60s because they just make it so much more fun. I'm just giving you like the history of translation in Croatia. So, and I think that's it as far as the art is concerned. Like, I also like went between this, and I also love how this is like the maps are on the book itself. This specific edition I read several times, but I also had the graphic novel also in translation, which I want to get in English. But I read this so many times. I read this so many times in tandem with the graphic novel, so it depends which I read at the time, but I loved this so much, and I thought it deserved like its own little show and tell, if in case you're not from here, so you can see something different. Another Croatian book, and this is probably a Croatian book, is this one, which is like, I want to say Tales of Yore, but I don't think that that's how they would translate it. I think this actually has a translation into English in this exact edition, but I don't have it in English because, like, why would I? The gilded lettering makes it a little bit difficult to show off, but this is like one of our more famous like children's legend mythology writer, and if you are not from here and are interested in reading something from Slavic mythology and folklore, get this in an English translation. I'm sure it's decent. I'm sure it's decent. It's a really, really pretty edition. I have several editions of this because I always loved this as a kid too, and my mother really likes them too. She had like a big book, I think, of this, and I wanted to show it off because it has such a specifically cool art style. Like, look at this. It might just be like I just might be the only one to find it that cool, but I really do. Like, look at it, like the little devils and everything. Like, again, proper Slavic mythology. So her writing is a little bit like old timey, so I do kind of wonder how they translated that into English, but it's just so nice. It has a smooth paper. It has illustrations like every 3 pages. It's a really, really pretty book. Do I need it? No, because again, I have this in several editions. Like, my mother had her own copies. I had my own copies when I was younger. It's just so nice. I'm not going to flip through the whole thing. Let me see if like I can quickly show off some larger illustrations. So yes, this exact edition was released around the same time in English. I guess they want to like localize the mythology for foreigners, which is a goddamn shame because nothing from these parts is like translated that's actually decent. They've only translated like some of the classics that not even we can read in school. So I'd highly recommend this if you're interested in Slavic mythology and if you're interested in this Croatian writer in particular. It's just so nice. It looks inky and a little bit cartoonish. It reminds me of the specific, art style in Deathly Hallows Part 1 when the tale of the three brothers is being told. It kind of reminds me of that. I'm not going to attempt to translate any of the titles of these stories because I am not I am not great at translating on my feet. I really don't feel like doing it. Then you have names in the end and like translations for the old timey language about the author and about the illustrator. And for some reason, the table of contents in Croatian books is at the end, which always confuses me so much since I only read English books. But I wanted to show it off a little bit because I never really publicly on here interact with anything from where I live. But Slavic mythology is something that I'm very fond of. So I just wanted to show it off. Before we go into the actual like graphic novel side of things, I wanted to show you off some of my King Arthur books because they're specifically very pretty because they're mostly older books. So I get them in pretty editions like by default because they don't necessarily always have ugly paperbacks. So this book was not expensive in the slightest. So let's go with this one first. The Story of King Arthur and His Knights. Howard Pyle. This is a hardcover. I paid like, I don't know, 15 euros for it, which is the price of an ordinary paperback book. So that was surprising, but it's really pretty on the inside. I will show you the art style in a second. This is what it says on the back. Let me show you what it's like on the inside. You obviously saw a bit of a spoiler, but yes. This is like what the art style looks like. This specific, like, harsh line art really reminds me of like Sword in the Stone, the film, and of like those tablets of old timey knights. Here we are. I'm not going to show you a lot of it. I just want you to see what we're dealing with here. This is the content. And yeah, while I'm flipping through these, I might just be giving you like an idea of what you want. It's like the list of illustrations. And then at the beginning, there's always like one person. Let me see. Here we are, like at the lake. Also has like this crest thing. Here we have Merlin. And because it's like written in very old-timey language, it has these small like sections at the sides that like summarize the page, which I found really interesting because I found it kind of difficult actually to read, or not even difficult, but boring. So this is like very helpful from time to time to like see what happens in Vivian Bewitches Merlin. That's like one of my favorite chapters because it has so many different interpretations depending on like where you read and who you ask. So like these little summaries are actually very, very interesting. I don't know if there's Morgana anywhere, or rather Morgan Le Fay. But I just love the art style of this. There's Lancelot. I think that's actually a very famous piece of art because I saw it online before. I don't know if Howard Pyle is like one of the more famous ones or not. Lady Nimue, there we are. Or not, but the fact that this was so cheap and a hardcover that's so well illustrated makes me believe that he is actually one of the main ones. Yeah, there we have Queen Morgana. I haven't read this entire thing, obviously, because it's just not readable. Similar to like the one by Thomas Mallory, it's just not really a readable or accessible language, so it's not something that you read cover to cover. But I have done like random research with this. I'd pick a chapter that I'm interested in and then just start writing things down. Here we have Tristan and Isolde, and I don't know if there's Avalon at the end of this. I don't think so. But basically, yes, that is the book by Howard Pyle. So if you want the edition, it's very well illustrated. The next one of the big ones from the last century is certainly Roger Lansing Green. And this specific edition, I already said, I have in a paperback too, but because that paperback didn't like get to me until 3 months later, I bought this special edition, which is just lovely. This also apparently has a famous artist that I knew nothing about when I got the book. Aubrey Beardsley is the artist, and my dad immediately knew who that was. I obviously do not. So let me see if I can immediately find an illustration. Here we are. Obviously, I was going to splurge on the King Arthur books because, as we've established, like over the course of the last year, I've just been diving headfirst. It's my favorite legend of all time, so I've just been motivated to collect it. Here we have the Quest of the Grail. I'm just skipping through it. I'm going to need to realign the bookmark when I'm done with this. Full page spread. This is like a very specific art style that apparently is very skilled. I say apparently because it's one of those Mona Lisa smile things that's like, what is art, what is good art, and who decides? I think it's all a matter of personal preference. There's no objectively good art. Because I, for example, don't really like this. Like, I don't really like the line art. I don't really like the proportions. But my dad really does, and apparently he's really famous. So again, between who am I to say and also I personally don't really like it, art is always subjective, and no amount of convincing will like make me like it. I just don't like how it looks. I actually prefer the art that's in the paperback, which is ironic since this is a special edition, but I just don't like it. I don't like the proportions. I don't like the line art. I don't like the style of it. It's just not to my taste. So if you do like it though, this special edition exists. And it has a really, really lovely, smooth paper, and it's beautifully printed. So for that alone, it was worth the purchase. But again, the art style is really not to my liking. I just wanted to show it off because I know that guy is very famous. We've made it to the crowning jewel of my collection. This is what started my collection. This is what I wanted. This is what got me like snowballing into back into my King Arthur obsession. The Great Book of King Arthur and His Knights of the Round Table by John Matthews and illustrated by John Howe. This is beautiful. This is like a hefty book, and seeing that this existed like just made me know that I needed to have it. Like, it's also like a wraparound piece of art, which is beautiful, by the way. John Howe. I mean, I don't really need to say anything else, do I? So I actually won't spoil this entire thing. There's black and white illustrations in here, and there are color illustrations in here. So I won't spoil this. I won't flip through the entire thing. You need to see it for yourself. See, like, this is what I like. This is what I like. This is stunning. As far as color illustrations are concerned, again, I'm trying to... John Howe. John Howe, there's nothing else I need to say. He was like a concept artist for Lord of the Rings. He illustrated several Lord of the Rings covers. My dad has one of them. So, it's just... this feels like, like one of those books that people would analyze by candlelight. With its like double page spread and everything. Like, I read like 1 or 2 of these per night, and I had the absolute best time, and I was so upset when I was actually done with it. Also, as you know, I'm a big fan of how John Matthews like presents his research and storytelling. I think it's done really, really beautifully, really engagingly, if that's a word. And I think it's really, really well done. Let me show you these. Like, these are just... it's a shame that the light can't like capture all of it, but like the way that he does the sea and the sea spray, and I know that there's like a light here, but there's nothing I can do. I want you to be able to see it like at all. And lighting is just not a thing that I'm really fortunate with. Stunning. It's just stunning. There's also this one illustration here. Yeah, that's Arthur in Avalon. That I love. This one, yeah. Riding the whale and the sea and everything. It's just beautiful. It's just so nice. This is my favorite book. It's my prized possession. I just love it so much. It also has like glossy paper, which does present a bit of a problem when showing off illustrations under this light, but this is just a beautiful, beautiful book that I'd recommend to anyone who's interested in this, because he presents it wonderfully. Anything by John Matthews on the subject is actually really interesting. I also read The Book of Mrlja, but that doesn't have like specific, beautiful, stunning illustrations to speak of, so I just brought out this. But this is absolutely and most definitely one of my prized possessions. Like, I love this so much. It was love at first sight. I needed to have it as soon as I saw it. The last thing that's not a graphic novel, and I just need to show off, is the oldest book in my collection. It's Stories of the Sagacity of Animals. It's this old, as you can see by the yellow pages, old vintage like illustrations by Harrison Weir, old storybook for children that I think was like, if you can see by this, Baptist school in Colville, punctual attendance at the Ebenezer Baptist Sunday School. This book, I think, was given like good attendance to whoever was attending the Baptist school. But my best friend picked this up when they went on a school trip to England, and she got this in like a second-hand shop and thought that I would appreciate it more because, again, she doesn't read. And it's just beautiful. There's something about beautiful books and how they smell and how they're printed and how they're made that's stunning. And this is now officially the oldest book in my collection. The thinness of the pages, like the sweet, sweet smell, the thick illustration plates. Like, look at how detailed this is. This was just a storybook, okay? Here we are. It was printed in 1896. This is officially like the oldest book that I own. There's also something about this old print that's so nice. Like, look at it. It's just such a pleasure to read. Will I read it? Not really, because I don't like... what is it called? Fables. I think fables is the word. I don't like stories about animals because it's not really about animals. The whole point is that the animals represent something in regards to people, and usually they're moral lessons, which means that usually the animals suffer somehow in the story. And even though I know it's supposed to be a metaphor, I don't like seeing animals suffering in any sort of context. So I don't really like fables. I don't like animals being used as metaphors, even though I know why why that happens. But it's just such a beautiful, beautiful object, okay? And the fact that she gave it to me, and the fact that it's the oldest book that I have, I just want to cherish it. And it's beautiful. If someone set me loose in, like, the UK, in secondhand bookstores, I think that I would come out with, like, several trunks worth of stuff, which is not great. The fact that this was cheap, too, and it's so well done, so well printed, and it's just... it was probably, like, sold for, like, what? Several pounds, maybe even less than that when she went there, and it's from the 19th century is so cool to me. It's just so pretty, and I'm really, really happy to have it. I want to show it off because genuinely, like, where else am I going to show this off? I'm not going to read it. Next one we have is obviously When Did the Willows. I sought this out, I think not for my last birthday, maybe for that birthday before, but it could be my last birthday. I just blocked out the entirety of 2024 from my head. But I got this, again, as we already said, I don't like anthropomorphized animals. I specifically got this because of the illustrated edition. It is a little bit like scuffed and frayed. I will actually take this like dust jacket off because it's, I think, a little bit too fragile. But it's okay because it's also, the print is also on the actual graphic novel itself, or rather, illustrated novel. Yeah. Which I wish they just did this, by the way. I don't like dust jackets. I wish they always did this. It's just beautiful. The artist, I think it's like, what's her name? Inga Moore. Stunning. Like, that's the sole reason that I got this book. It's going to be difficult to flip through these because of the enormity of it. So I will do this very carefully so you can like see something at all. But it has this like grainy texture to the illustrations, if you can see, that I really, really enjoy and really, really like. I'm going to hold the mic while I flip through this because it's a large book. Did I read it? Yes. Did I like it? Not really. Again, because I just don't like animals acting as people, because there's so many moral problems with that. I won't even get into it, but the concept of like rats, raccoons, and mice acting like people and having bacon for breakfast is that it immediately pops into your head, at least it does in my head, is how in the fresh hell do they have eggs and bacon for breakfast? Like, those animals are a lot larger than them. It just doesn't work. And you could say that I'm nitpicking, but again, since I'm very sensitive to like animal issues and animal anything in stories, I immediately think about that. Not just ethically, like how could an animal that acts like a person eat another animal that presumably also acts like a person, but how in the hell does a rat have bacon for breakfast? That's just something that pops into my head, and it is another reason why I just don't like stories of this kind. But the illustrations are absolutely stunning. Really, really, really pretty. That the only reason I got it because I want to like flip through it. I don't think I'll ever read it again. I have no interest in reading it again. I didn't have interest in reading it the first time, but alas, this is just too difficult to show you. So I hope you enjoyed, and I hope that you consider getting this if you like Wind in the Willows, or if you just like really pretty illustrations, because it's Inga Moore outdid herself. This one I'm sure you've seen before, especially on my channel, because I do like to read it at Halloween, but I specifically got the deluxe edition, so I wanted to show just how pretty it is, like, properly. It's also like a bit of a larger novel, or graphic novel, or comic. I hate the distinctions because I always trip up explaining them, but the reason that this is so pretty, and there are several, is that, first of all, this thing, like, flips open to reveal the image, but not only that, the entire graphic novel itself is a flip around image, which is stunning. And this specific art style, this is what I mean by art is subjective. It looks intentionally like exaggerated and grotesque, which is something that like Alan Moore really likes to do in his stories in general. So I'm sure he gets artists to share in his vision, but this art style I really like. I love how the colors pop. I love how cartoonishly exaggerated it is. And I think it really enhances the story that it looks like this. So unlike the Aubrey Beardsley art, this I feel is just really specifically to my taste. And I don't even like like grotesque, exaggerated art. I also don't want to really spoil you with this one because it's so short. So I'm sure you've seen some of these like somewhere, because this is like not Alan Moore's like most famous comic. It's arguably either Vendetta or Watchmen, but as far as DC is concerned, this is one of the more famous renditions of the Joker, specifically because it plays around with the Joker's like backstory, and it's like a one shot, and the comic is really, really famous, and the adaptation of it is also really famous with Mark Hamill. So I just want to show you like a little bit of it. Like it plays with color quite a bit. Like it exaggerates color. And now, in order not to spoil the rest of it, I'm just going to like flip through the ending that has the illustrations, which this is the little X edition, I think, where you get like the extra illustrations and the sketches and everything. Who is the artist, by the way? I already forgot, and I didn't even tell you who the artist is. It's Brian Boland. He's a fantastic artist. Like the colors, the textures are insanely well done on this. This is what I mean. Exaggerated. It reminds me of Pennywise a little bit. So in case you've never seen this and need like an inspiration to get it, it's this is it. It's just really nice. Like look at it. Look at it side by side, like detail wise. Look at how good it is. The next one that I thought I would show you is the classic that I talk about every single year, and that is the Long John Silver graphic novel, which might be my favorite graphic novel of all times in terms of how often I can read it. Like, I haven't read it this year, but something about the story and the pirate vibes and the art draws me into it every single time. I could have it in English, but the translation is very good, and there's no need for me to repurchase it. So I will show them off like one by one and show you like my favorite art in it. And the thing I have to say about this is that like if you like Pirates of the Caribbean and Treasure Island or either one or just that vibe, this is like perfect. It's truly a graphic novel in the sense that it has like a proper story. You know, it doesn't meander like so many comic graphic novel stories do that just want to show off the art. It actually has like a story and a plot and a goal and an exploration of the titular characters. So let's just go one by one. We have the first one, which is Lady Vivian Hastings. And I think the original of this is like in French, right? So the English is also a translation, I think. Or the original might actually be English. I have no idea, but I think it isn't. See, this line art is exactly what I like. The colors, how it's drawn, stunning. Stunning, and the story is genuinely actually interesting enough that I want to read it so often. And obviously, I just love anything Long John Silver because he's such an interesting character. The light is really bothering me with these glossy pages, so I'm doing my best here. But if I didn't have a direct light, then I promise that you would be seeing nothing. I know people have professional lighting for these videos, but unfortunately, that is not me. This is also like a specifically stunning shot. There, now you can probably see it. Beautiful. I think the prettiest ones are in the second graphic novel, though, so I will quickly like show you that one. The second one is Neptune, which I think is the boat. There, I want to frame this. Like, obviously you can't see it properly here, specifically because of the glare. But I'm going to try to see like the clouds and how the clouds like blend into the sea and how there's little flecks of light around the boat. This I would love to frame. I would love to frame. And if anything from this video seems appealing to you, I highly encourage you to check it out because I wouldn't really show off things that I don't like, even if they had pretty art. This, like how this, I really like when artists do the sea or lightning because it shows you how good like their blending technique is. As far as I'm concerned, that looks like the hardest thing to do. That and snow, like the sea and snow look like the hardest things to blend to look very good. So any artists can confirm or deny. Then obviously we have the, what is it called? Emerald Labyrinth. I think that will be the translation. Okay, yeah, so the original is French. I can see that. See, this is what I mean. Look at what it looks like. Look at the detailing on this, like the specific individual lines, the blending of the colors. Like it's also in the rain. This is skillful to me. Okay, like there are so many different techniques that are skillful and difficult to do because I know nothing about art. Clearly, I just know what I like, and this is something that I like. This is like stunning. It has similar light art to Shirahama actually, so. I mean, she did, again, take inspiration from France, so that does make quite a bit of sense. Here we get, like, a bit more of a gold aesthetic. Green, like, big boat in the jungle. Stunning. And then the last one, which is, obviously, Guayanacapa, which is the place that they're, like, going to. Look at this. Look at this. You can't see it properly, but, like, the shading and the blurring of, like, what is it called? It looks like the one in Babylon, like the ziggurat. Ziggurat, that is the word. The blending of it into the background with the shadows, the shading that it actually looks like shape and not just vague blobs. It's stunning. There we have the ziggurat and the gold and the rain and the clouds, and it's just so lovely. And also the glare thing is challenging when you're reading too. I don't like when graphic novels have this like glossy texture because it irritates the crap out of me when I read as well. And I will show you the last one that actually has a matte finish, and I hope that that will be better so I can prove my point. Here we have like a Long John Silver art. Beautiful. So these four are certainly some of my favorites, and I do highly encourage you to read them if you haven't been convinced already. These are the last ones that I have to show you because I can finally show them to you. This one was difficult to find. This one, like, I pre-ordered, I think, when it was coming out. This one I found for like 10 euros. This one I paid like 17 euros for, and it was super difficult to find, and it took ages to get to me, so I finally have all three of them. I went on like a graphic novel kick last year when I had nothing to read and all the books were letting me down. So I read many graphic novels. This is the only one that I actually liked so much that I wanted to collect it. Not only is the art stunning, but the story is genuinely really cutesy and engaging and fun, and I cannot wait for volume 4. I thought this was like a three volume series. It is not. There is definitely more coming, and the cover for the fourth one is really pretty. But let's just go one by one. This is also very autumnal, as you can see. It's like a very autumnal style, especially the first one. Let me just show it off to you. This specific art style it's just so like it's so to my liking. I don't know how else to explain it. We have a map here, and this has matte texture, so you can immediately see it better. Like the light still kind of bothers the recording, but you can definitely see it better than the last one. The colors, okay, the colors, the details, this color scheme, the art style, it's just so lovely. The story is simplistic and for children, very obviously, because I think he works in animation for children and cartoons and stuff, but it's just beautiful. It's wonderful to look at, and even though it is like really simple and for children, like look at this. Look at this. This is like autumnal perfection, okay? It's just so lovely to look at and pleasant on the eyes, but also the simple story is actually really nice and sweet and really engaging and actually kind of layered the farther into the story you get. It's just so nice. I wish I could frame it. Like, I wish I could frame it, and I'm sorry that the colors don't pop like they do in real life. I wish I could frame this entire double page spread. It's just so lovely, okay? And the creature and everything, it's so nice. I will try not to spoil you, so I'm like flipping through it fairly quickly. I'm trying to get like a different color scheme to show you. But I think the entire first one is sort of autumnal because it wants to highlight the sun and the colors. And look at this. You know, like look at how nice it is. Like Tim Probert, beautiful, wonderful artist. Then we have the second one, which has like a water thing. Like obviously all of them are story related. It's stunning. It still has like this theme, but then you can see that it all of a sudden has a lot of blues, a lot of greens rather than oranges. And it focuses on different things. Let me see if I can find like a water shot, because I know that there are water shots in here. There's purples, there's greens, like just the entire color scheme is just so nice in here. Even while I'm flipping through it, just being blinded by the colors, I think you're going to appreciate how pretty it is. Look at it. The colors just pop. Even on the camera, you can imagine how much they're popping. Look at this. This looks like that specific scene from Princess Mononoke when they go into like the glades to heal. Is his name Ashitaka? I'm not sure, but I think it could be. That's exactly like what it looks like. It's stunning, the water, and there's like this water spirit, and they're like spirits of nature, I suppose. So kind of, yeah, very similar to Princess Mononoke in everything except actual plot. Look at like little fishes, like the blues. He just like adopts a color aesthetic for the book, and then again, water drawings are what impresses me, because it feels like a difficult thing to draw. Like look at it. Look at the shading, like the sea foam, sea spray, how many colors there are in the waves. It's just one of the things that impresses me most in an artist's arsenal, I suppose. And different art styles are obviously personal preference, but what always impresses me is water. And then the third one adopts an aesthetic of darkness, because the dark times. I won't say why that is, but it plays around with light. Because since there is no light, and it is only like candles or little fires, it needs to play around with how it's going to use that. So for example, this is like a night scene, and it gets to play around in the art style with how you see things under the moon or under the stars, because there is no more light. And it has a lot of purples and shades of blues and dark greens, and just, it's beautiful. I also want to show you, hang on. I think there's like a really pretty panel when we get to the backstory of one of the spirits. Like, look at this. Look at how nice this is. This specific, like when he gets into the galaxy, like look at this. Look at this. It's just, every single novel here is I will flip through this quickly because I don't want to spoil anything about it, because it's actually a really cool part of the story. It was my favorite one so far. But just how he actually like adapts to the circumstances. Like the first one was really colorful and autumnal and basking in the sun. The second one was like leaning into the water. Look at this. Like he needs to make the night scene and the green scene, no longer blue, just like be here illuminated by like candlelight and starlight. Like this is just so pretty. Like he plunged his entire world into darkness and just rolled with it. And he is a good enough artist to be able to pull it off. It's just, good job, Tim. It's just a stunning little series, I think, that is so worth all the attention that it has been getting through the last few years. It absolutely deserves it, and I love it so much and highly recommend it to everyone. I might actually reread it myself this autumn because of just how pretty it is, and I would highly recommend it to literally everyone. I put all this here just for the aesthetics, obviously, because I was going like for a for an autumnal aesthetic, but that is it for the video. I hope you enjoyed it, because I love this type of video, not just in like ASMR form, but in general, like someone just yapping about really pretty books and flipping through them and explaining the context and recommending them to me. I am not a visual learner, unlike pretty much everyone on the internet. You always hear everyone say like I'm a visual learner. I am most definitely not. But I do like looking at pretty things, like all this artists and all these like designers and character artists and cover artists, all of them put in effort, or not all of them, but hopefully all of them put in a lot of effort into their work, and I think it's really worth praising when I think it's worth praising. So let me know what your like favorite illustrated editions are, what your favorite graphic novels are in terms of art, story, or both, ideally both. But I would love to hear it, because I like looking at pretty art, and now that you've seen the video, you kind of, I think, get a sense for what style I like, what color scheme I like what I don't like. I already told you like during this video. So if you have any recommendations for me, please do give me them, because I always want to look at pretty illustrations and pretty graphic novels. I've read so many just because of the art style, so don't hesitate to recommend me something if you think that I will enjoy it, if only visually. So that is it for the video. I hope it was pleasing, and I am so sorry for the light. I just can't do anything about it because I feel like you would see nothing, and this way at least you saw something. So I will see you in the next video.